to the Relentless CEO Podcast.
Relentless!
With Adam Kifer. Follow your path to success alongside icons and industry leaders in martial arts, fitness, and more.
Let's go.
This is the Relentless CEO Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Relentless CEO Podcast. Good to be back with you guys. Good to be back in our studio. I'm excited today because we're going to be talking about something that I think gets dubbed cliche a lot for entrepreneurs and business owners. But to me, it's like an essential. I'm not talking about cold plunging, guys. That's not what I'm going for. I know that's what some of you guys are thinking. But we are going to talk about setting up your day for success by creating your monster morning. Hey, Relentless Nation, what is up? If you've been listening to this podcast, you know I never sell anything on this podcast. We don't even have sponsors for our podcast because I want it to be about giving you value. That's going to change for this episode and for the next few because we have the most important event in the history of the martial arts industry coming up, the Relentless Membership Summit in Chandler, Arizona. This is an event that every martial arts school that wants to level up and push the boundaries of what they can do and the impact they can make should be at, because you're not only going to be around industry experts in business, marketing, instruction, athlete development, but you're also going to be around people from outside the industry that have scaled success at levels we've never even seen at our industry. For example, one speaker alone has over $100 million in sales. Another speaker was the video director for Mr. Beast, the 245 million subscriber YouTube channel. And then we have industry staples like myself and Dave Kovar and Jody Tension and Kelly Murray. We are bringing you guys the best of the best to help you guys get to the next level. And I will promise you this will be unlike any other martial arts event you've ever been to in the best ways possible. Our speakers are accessible. You can come up and talk to me in between sessions. You can come network with us at the networking party. And we like to go all out with our entertainment. We're bringing you guys some of the best stand-up comedians as well to perform at this. So you guys are going to have fun. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to level up. And you're, more importantly, going to get to go home and make a massive impact in your community as a result. Tickets are on sale now. Get them before they've gone. We've sold out the last 3 years. RelentlessSummit.com is where you can grab your ticket. And I hope to see you at the summit. Now back to the podcast. Different phases of my life have had different morning routines based on what I was working towards. So I'm going to break this down in sort of a tactical way, step by step, so you can see the steps that I go through when creating this routine. But what I will say this is, if you are feeling stuck, if you're feeling stagnant, if you don't feel like you are progressing that much, if you feel like you're losing energy midway through the day, I can almost guarantee there's some lack of routine that is not existent in your life right now. Whether it's your morning routine, whether it's time blocking throughout your day, I will say this, and you've heard me talk about it before, having a morning routine and time blocking your day intentionally makes such a drastic difference. Like, I know the way my day is set up that no one is ever going to outwork me. Like, I know that no one's going to be able to outwork me because I'm so intentional with every aspect of my day to make sure that it's pushing me in the right direction for my goals. So we're going to rewind a bit here. And let's talk about where you need to start before you just jump into creating your morning routine or creating your time blocking for success. Number one is you need to know your core values, okay? You have to have some list of core values that list out the things that are important to you in life, the things that determine your self-worth. Don't do it based on money. Like, money and building a legacy through money can be part of your core values, but you should not be building your self-worth based on money, okay? These are things that should be entirely in your control. So, for example, my ability to show up as a father, my ability to show up as a husband, my relationship with Jesus, like, all of these things are all things within my control that are part of different core values that I have, right? You have to have them attached to stuff that's within your control, because in the moments of trials and tribulations, okay, if you are basing your self-worth on things that are outside your control, as soon as those things start to go off course, you start to decrease your own self-worth because you've attached it to something that's not even fully in your control. So create your list of core values first. Mine, I have a list of 7 different core values. I look at it every few days. I don't look at it daily, but I look at it every few days. And I also look at it when it's time to make a decision. When it's time to make an important decision and I have two options and I'm not really sure which way to go, I pull out that list of core values, and that's what's going to guide my decisions, right? Next, you need to know and be very clear on what your goals are, both personally and professionally. Core values will help with decision making, but you have to have some sort of end goal that you're shooting for. What does your goal look like a year from now? What does it look like 3 years from now, both personal and business? Because when you figure out what your goal is, then you can now create daily actions that are going to get you there 1% at a time to actually reach your goal. If you don't have a goal, then you're just doing things to do it. A great example of this, right? I put together this workout routine for myself a couple of years back, and I was going to the gym and I was doing it, and I just wasn't seeing the results from it. I was consistent with it, but I wasn't seeing the results. And what I realized was I was working out without any goal in mind. I was working out just to go to the gym because I know I need to be at the gym to be healthy, but there was no end goal in mind. So for me, I booked a fight and I was like, all right, I'm going to do a fight. Now I have a goal to work towards and a reason why I'm doing this fitness every single day and this conditioning every single day. Okay. And then all of a sudden I started to see more results happen because I knew that I had to reach that end goal by a certain deadline. Plus, if the consequences of you not fulfilling are getting your ass kicked in the ring, like, it's good motivation. I'm not saying this for everyone, but it's good motivation. So now I'm probably doing another fight next year. But my why behind the fitness part and working out is different now. Okay, now the goal is because I want to be what the end result should look like for anyone that starts Move Martial Arts. Okay, I also want to make sure that I'm leading by example for any of the school owners or business owners that I work with in terms of like having a well-balanced life and what that looks like. Okay. So for me, those are the things that are motivating me to go to the gym and have a plan every single day. And I know my next fight, I'm going to fight at 205. My last fight I did, I was 235. I'm at 220 something right now, like 224, 225. So I know that I have until probably February of next year to try and get down another 20 pounds. Right. So I have these physical goals that I'm working towards, which keeps me motivated to actually show up and do the work every single day. So write down your goals. I know we talk about this all the time, but how many of us teach this to our students and don't actually do it ourselves? Okay, so be very clear on what those goals are. And then here's the thing, guys. You will need to make time for what's important. Okay, if it's important to you, you're going to time block for it in your weekly calendar, and you're going to make time for it. There was a period of my life when I lived in New York where if you looked at my time block, it was all work. And what does that mean? It means that I wasn't being intentional about making time for my family. So for me at that point, if I wanted family time to be important, I had to make time for it. So I actually started by time blocking family time into every single day and every single week in my schedule, because I realized that I was neglecting it and that I needed to make it a priority. So for me, I put on my calendar. I made sure it was a priority. My team would remind me when to go home if I hadn't left yet to make sure I was getting home on time. So we will make time for what's important. So if there's things that you've been procrastinating and things that you've been putting off, I would guess that most likely it's because you're not actually making the time for it. Now let's jump into what I think is the groundwork of your day, the groundwork of success daily, which is your morning routine. To me, the morning routine means that I'm flipping the on switch intentionally for my day. I'm not just waking up and letting the day happen. Okay, I'm being intentional about it. So I'm going to just lay out a typical morning routine for me, for you guys. There's no cold plunge in it yet. But for me, I'm usually up at 4:30 or 5 a.m. depending on the day. Okay, the reason it's different based on the day is that there's some days I'm driving an hour and a half to go work with Randy for a 7 a.m. class. And then there's other days that I'm going to the gym 15 minutes down the street from me that I don't need that extra hour and a half travel time built into my morning. So it's going to be different. So I wake up at 4:30 or 5. I go immediately outside. Like for me, being outside and for whatever reason, just looking at the sky, I don't know, it's a me thing. It might be weird. I don't know. I look at the sky and it just reminds me that God created this, and it reminds me to be grateful for just like life. Like it's just that for me, that's what does it. It might be something completely different for you, but I go outside to start my day every single morning, and I sit outside, usually barefoot with my feet in the grass or the turf, because we're in Arizona and we don't have grass. It like doesn't exist out here. And then I do a few different things while I'm outside. First thing I do is, if I'm being honest, I scroll social media for like 10 minutes. Then what I do is I start looking at my calendar for the day and intentionally think about, well, what do I need to get ready for everything else that I have planned for this day? Okay. Do I have to get an agenda written for a meeting I have today that maybe I didn't get done yet? Is there something that I have to train my team on that I have to make sure I'm prepared to train them on? So I just look at all of those things and sort of create a plan of action for the day based on what I have time blocked out and based on what's on my schedule. Second thing I do is I do my daily devotions. So I read the Bible, I pray on it, I do all of that. Then I take my vitamins for the day. On my way to my workout, I listen to an audiobook. Once I started doing this, guys, like just doing the audiobook thing, I started averaging 2 books a week that I'm getting through just on the audiobook side. And for me, I usually do a mix. When I have a book I'm going through, I'm listening to it like in the car. And then when I have those moments where I can sit down and read, I'm sitting down and reading the book as well. So for me, that just works. You guys make it whatever works for you. Then I do my workout. Here's the thing I would recommend, especially for us as school owners, like we have to train. We have to be the example setter for our staff. We have to be the example setter for our students. Usually, and Johnny and I were talking about this the other day, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, but a lot of times we see videos of schools and we look at the students, their body type is usually a very close mimic to the body type of the main instructor of the school or the owner of the school. For example, when I see a video and it's a bunch of out of shape martial artists in the video, 9 times out of 10, when I see the instructor or when I see the school owner, they're usually out of shape as well. You can tell they haven't trained in a while, or at least consistently trained or done it with intensity. Then when I see a super athletic student base at a school, 9 times out of 10, I look at the coach and I look at the school owner, and guess what? You can tell that they train. You can tell they're in good shape. You can tell that they're consistent with what they do. The culture of our school starts with us. If I want a culture of athletes, I need to make sure that I'm doing athletic activity consistently, which what I want for Move is I want a culture of athletes. Okay, that's what I want. So for me, I go 4 times a week, at least 4 hours a week, I'm doing of martial arts training. All right, so I have 3 times with Coach Randy, I go and train with him. I have 1 time that I'm just training physically with our team, like not teaching them, training with them, where we're doing combos, we're pad holding for each other, we're sparring each other. We do that every single week. So I have those. And then I also have my gym workouts that I do. Okay, so I have usually 3 days of gym workouts, and then the rest of the days I'm doing martial arts training. Then on the way back from whatever my workout is, okay, so I go from workout to office usually. Okay, on the way there, I'm listening to a recording of Taylor Welch's calls. Since I'm in his mastermind, I'm listening to his calls just to see what can I pick up, what can I put more energy and focus into. And here's the thing, when I listen to the calls in the car, I'm not taking notes, right? But I'm listening for the nuggets, so that way I can make a note to myself that, hey, I need to actually go back and study this later, so I can actually pull all the details out of this to make the businesses better, to make myself better, whatever that might be. Then, for me, my most productive time of day, the day that I feel like the most creative, is in the morning after I work out. So when I time block my day, okay, usually 9 to 12 most days is blocked off on my calendar of monster mornings. And that monster morning time is my creative and productive time. So I don't do calls during that time. Okay. I don't take meetings during that time. That time is just for me to create and to, create's the best way to put it in my role. It's there to create. So it might be creating systems. It might be creating marketing concepts. It might be creating websites, whatever I need to do to hit my goals. Okay. I'm in creation mode during that time. I think it's so important for you guys to block out time to be creative, because as entrepreneurs, we can get stuck in the busy every single day. And when you're stuck in the busy every single day, your brain never gets that chance to create, because by the end of the day, you're just drained. You don't have any more mental energy to put into place. And here's the thing, for a while, I used to do this in the afternoon. I don't know why, but I used to do it in the afternoon, and I had a call with Taylor, and he's like, He's like, when do you feel like most energized and productive in the day? And I was like, mornings. He's like, well, why are you doing all your creating in the afternoons? He's like, you're not at full brain power when you're doing it in the afternoons, so shift it to the mornings. As soon as I did that, whoa, monster difference. Like way more productive, way more output coming from me in my roles in the companies as an example. Then I go through and I time block the rest of my day. So I have time blocks specifically when I do take client calls. I have time blocks for team training and staff trainings throughout the week. I have time blocks for lunch. Like, guys, if we don't time block, if we don't make time for lunch, we don't make time to eat. As entrepreneurs, we get stuck and busy. And then we end up teaching classes and we haven't eaten all day. And how am I able to bring full energy teaching on the mat if I'm not actually like fueling myself to have that energy? So I know a lot of this sounds like common sense, but we get stuck in ruts as entrepreneurs, and then we fall out of habit and we fall out of routine. And then all of a sudden we go 3, 4, 5, 6 months and we're just like, man, like, I don't feel like I'm getting anything done. I don't feel like I'm any farther along now than I was 3, 6 months ago. We have to be intentional about blocking this out so that we can present this as the best version of ourselves showing up consistently, right? And here's the thing, guys, like, I've been in all hands on deck mode for the last couple months in all the companies, just because with everything we went through for the first 6 months of this year that you guys have been following along with on this podcast, like, we had companies that took a big hit as a result of that, right? Great thing now is like momentum starting to build back up since all of that stuff is pretty much behind us. But the reason I'm mentioning that is I've had to be all hands on all the company, which means my hours of work have gone a bit crazy. I still am mixing family time in there, but say on average, I'm probably working 10 to 12 hours a day on some aspect of one of the businesses, whether it's creating class plans for Move, whether it's creating instructor training for Move, whether it's building a website for one of the businesses, or whatever it is. It's creation mode constantly right now. And here's a crazy thing, like, I'm not drained. Like, I don't wake up feeling drained the next day. I wake up excited to like get up and just kick butt again the following day. And I attribute a lot of that to just keeping the discipline of the routine constantly going. Okay. Every day I wake up and I'm excited to start the routine, and then I do the routine, and it gives me clarity, mental clarity for the rest of the day. And the physical workout gives me energy for the rest of the day to go and just kick butt and fulfill the time blocking that I've set out. I want to touch on things often forgot in your time blocking. A few of these we touched on already, but we'll jump into this more. And the reason I have this list is that a lot of things that we work with our clients, both on the private coaching side and also on the mastermind side, is getting them to be very structured and intentional about their day. Okay, and I want to hit this off with, when you first time block for yourself, you're gonna mess it up. Like, you're gonna go through it, and the first day you're gonna be like, I was so off on my times. There's an app called Toggle, and what I'd recommend is download this, and it's pretty much a tracking app so you can track how long you're spending on different things throughout your day. Use Toggle for a week straight. Track everything that you're doing and how long it's taking, then time block, and you'll be a lot more accurate with your time blocking. Then also know, like, your time blocking is constantly a work in progress. Okay, you're going to set up your perfect week. You're going to go through it the first iteration, and you'll be like, all right, I need to adjust some things because this didn't work out being at this time. This didn't work out being at this time. You make adjustments. Don't get down on yourself. Don't be extra hard on yourself. It is a process to figure out, just like any other system. All right, things often forgot about in your time blocking. Number one, we talked about already, is your training. Okay, to show up as the best version of yourself as a leader, you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. That means eating the right things. That means getting your physical workouts in, getting your martial arts workouts in. Being the end result of your product is really what the goal should be for you. So if I was to talk to a parent, my process is, would they be able to look at me and be like, man, I want my kid to be like that. I want my kid to look like that. I want him to be athletic about that. I went and taught our black belt class last night at Move, and we had an odd number in class. So I was doing drills with the class. And one of the drills we were doing was a resistance band drill for slide kicks, where you're just working on sliding on one foot while your partner is pulling back on a resistance band to provide resistance. And I was paired up with Coach Scott at our gym, and we're doing the drill together, and I'm doing it, and he's holding the resistance band, And he's like, I keep waiting for you to slow down. He's like, you never slow down. He's like, I keep waiting for the old age to set in. And he's like, it's not happening. He's like, you just keep going and getting better. And to me, that was a great compliment, even though he was sort of tongue in cheek with it. It was a great compliment because I train hard. Like I try and train harder than anyone else that's doing anything that I'm doing. If I'm training with my students, guess what? I'm going to out-train all of them when I train with them. If I'm training with my staff, my goal is to out-train all of them. Okay. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's always my goal when I go into those things. So we got to be intentional about our training. Some of us have been telling ourselves lies for too long that we're still good at martial arts and that our training from 5 years ago makes us great now. No, you got to stay consistent with it, man. You got to be able to stay consistent. Injuries or not, there's other aspects that you can work on. If you have a bad knee, work on the things that don't require the use of your knee as much, okay? Also, for those of us that deal with injuries, are we being intentional about actually putting the work in to recover from those injuries and to make the situation better? Like I, for a while, was dealing with terrible hip pain and lower back pain on my left side specifically. And I had two options, right? Like I stop working out altogether and just hope it gets better, or I continue to work out and then actually seek out exercises to help fix and alleviate those injuries or pain points. Like there's some myth out there that if you're injured, it means you should stop training altogether. Then you get lazy, then you get fat, then you get complacent. Like for me, when I get an injury, okay, I'm looking, how do I rehab this the best? How do I take care of this the best? How do I get this to come back even stronger than it was before? And then obviously I am not a medical professional, so I seek out the professionals that work with athletes, okay? Super important, professionals that work with athletes to point me in the right direction. If you're not working with Ross Levine, like, and you're a martial artist, like his program that he puts together for you does such a good job complementing martial arts training. I have my naturopathic doctor. Naturopathic? Is that the right word? Did I just make that up? Natural? I don't know. But she works like hormone treatments, DNA, like all that stuff. She's a bare knuckle boxer. Like that's what she does in addition to be a doctor. Like, so I try and seek out people that are experts in health, fitness, all that stuff, but then also have some sort of experience being an athlete or working with athletes so that they can guide me in the right direction. If I'm ever unsure about how to recover from something or an injury, I text them and they point me in the right direction. So lean on the right people for that. Another thing often forgot in the time blocking is mindset building activities. I remember we hosted a summit one year, and it was I think the second year we did the summit. We had an action-packed roster. Tons of school owners were like, man, this was the best event ever. There was one feedback form that I remember got filled out. I remember who filled it out too. And they pretty much said it. They go, there's too much mindset stuff. And I was like, man. And then I'm looking at, I know the results of this person's business. I know what they're doing monthly. And it was like, they just had this stuck, fixed mindset that they didn't need any work on their mindset. And the results they were getting in their business, and also just you could tell how dissatisfied with life that they were in general. I would argue that person needed the most mindset help out of anyone in the room, like anyone in the room. And then I've been in rooms with millionaires and billionaires in these masterminds, and you know the people taking the most notes when someone's talking about mindset, it's usually the most successful people in the room, because they're not sitting there with an ego that's stopping them from learning. For us, we have to be intentional about constantly working on our mind. Like every single day it's a battle in your brain, you versus you. It's your default brain versus your CEO brain. It's your default brain versus your athlete brain. Our brain wants us to be comfortable. It wants us to take it easy, take the day off. It wants us to all of those things. But we have to develop a positive mindset that's going to win the war that we have in our mind every single day. Okay, you lose the battle in your mind, you're probably losing the battle that you're going to face that day anyway. Okay, so we have to constantly strengthen our brain. We teach this to our students. Are we doing it? Also, being intentional about making time for skill building and skill acquisition. Okay, a good example of this is, and I'm not trying to put any website companies down, but we were using a website company for Move. And one of the things I noticed is after using them for, 6 months, our search engine ranking was not increasing. We were like, I think on the second or third page of Google, which is unacceptable in my opinion. So my expertise in marketing has always been copywriting, paid traffic, lead conversion. Like those are the three areas that I absolutely shine in when it comes to marketing, as well as just offers. So SEO though, search engine optimization, was never my thing. I always had someone on my team that was better at SEO than me, so I didn't have to get really great at it. But with this, I was like, I want to figure out why this is happening. So I spent hours one week just developing the understanding of search engine optimization better and more deeper in a way that I could actually take some consistent action to improve it. Guess what, guys? Like 5 days later, we're ranked 8th on the first page when we weren't even showing up in the first 2 pages a week before that. If we don't have someone to delegate certain tasks to, if we don't have someone that has that skill set that we need, maybe you don't have the budget to hire someone that has that skill set, sometimes we just got to acquire skills on our own. Okay, we got to do that. Alex Hormozi, I think, gave one of the greatest methods of doing this is if you hire someone that is going to do something that, and they possess a skill that you don't have, as part of the agreement when you hire them, have them teach you their skill. Have them teach you the why behind what they're doing and the how behind what they're doing. Like a great example of this is we have a great graphic designer here at the agency that does a lot of stuff for Move as well. She'll throw some graphics together sometimes that just blow my mind, and I'll just go ask her, like, hey, how did you do this? Like, what did you do? Or I'll be trying to do some sort of graphic thing, and then I know she knows how to do it, so I have her teach me how to do it so I can learn and I can get those skills. And the nice thing about that too is as you get more people on your team, you have such a wide array of skills now that you're able to teach a little bit to anyone, okay, that's looking for those skills. But being intentional about creating time every week for skill building is a must. One thing I'll touch on that you don't really hear me talk about a lot is like the spiritual side of things. I think it's so important, no matter what you believe whatever you want, but I believe all of us have to get connected on the spiritual side and make time for that in some way, okay? Because I think you have physical, you have mental. I think that's part of the balance. I think spending time with your family and loved ones is another part of the balance. And I think the last part is the spiritual side of things, because we know that there's things outside of our control and there's someone moving things around in the world. For me, like I'm a Christian at heart. And a lot of my spiritual time is just talking to Jesus and talking to God and having conversations and reading my Bible. And a lot of it just gives me wisdom that I don't get from anywhere else. And a lot of it just gives me a sense of peace that I know I can't get from people, that I can't get from money, that I can't get from anything else. Whatever your spiritual time looks like, it's completely up to you. But all I'm saying is just make time for it. Find time to make time for it. We talked a little bit about this earlier. Creative time. I sort of mimic this in 2 ways. Like I think it's part creative time and part just sitting in silence. When you own a business, it is just loud all day, especially in martial arts school. You got kids like literally yelling on the mat, right? So there's a lot of just loudness, okay? And it's not just all audible loudness. It's emails, text message. You're just getting bombarded with things where your brain is just firing off constantly throughout the day. I find for me personally that if I have time built into my day where I can just sit in silence, it sort of helps my brain to just get some recovery and to just restore. And what I mean by sit in silence, I don't mean just sit and scroll mindlessly on your phone, but just sit in silence and let your brain just rest, take a break. For me, and I don't do the silence every day. In the morning, it's silent when I'm outside doing the morning routine, but yesterday was a long day. I got home at 9:30. I left the house at 4:30 yesterday in the morning. And I was at the school last night. I wanted to go and just teach classes to set a good example for our coaches. And it was a new week of class plans. So I wanted to show them the class plans in action. So that way they had a guide sort of what to follow. So I got home late. And it was just one of those days where I was like, I could tell my brain was telling me it needed silence. So we got home, got the kids fed, got the kids to bed with my wife. And I was just like, hey, I was like, are you cool if I go sit in the backyard and just stare at the stars for a little bit? So I went in the backyard and I just sat there stared at the stars, journaled for a little bit, and just sort of let my mind decompress. 15 minutes of that, I was like a new man. I was good to go after that. Came back in, spent some time with my wife, and then went to bed. But those moments sort of reset my brain for the next day, so I can wake up feeling fresh. I can wake up feeling like I have clarity, and it's almost like hitting the reset button for the next day. So if you guys are people like me that tend to constantly be thinking and active in thought in your head all day, like, it's important that we make time to just have silence, okay, and get comfortable with silence. I really think it's one of the secrets to bringing out your creativity as well, is having those moments where it's just quiet. And then we also talked about this a little bit earlier, but I want to touch on it one more time to really just hit it home. I want to challenge all of you to figure out what part of your day is the day when you feel like you have the most brain energy or brain power. Okay, for me, it's after my workouts in the morning, 100%. Might be different for you. Some of you guys, it might be at night. Like maybe you wake up later, you teach classes, and you have all this energy after class, and that's your creative time. But figure out when that is, and that time should be blocked out for like your creation time, your innovation time, your time to just put in the work and kick butt. That will help you guys to maximize those moments of the day when you guys do have the most energy and you have the most brain power and you're not mentally fatigued. Because when we're mentally fatigued, we also give up on things a lot faster. We'll start a task and then we're like, I can't think of a solution for this right now. I'll come back to it later. And then we tell ourselves that over and over and over again, where if you're working at maximum brain power, you will work harder to figure out the problem and the solution now instead of putting it off later. And for me, these are just, I'm sharing with you guys what works for me. Okay, this is what's worked for me consistently. And obviously, you guys will be able to take elements of this and put it into your time blocking and your routine. But the groundwork starts with that monster morning. You have to have a morning that sets the tone for the rest of your day. And I encourage you guys to follow people like David Goggins, who are very transparent with their mornings and the things that they do. Like one of my favorite stories from David Goggins that I think gave me some grace and flexibility with my daily routine is he's like, you guys see me running and being motivating, but sometimes I'm sitting at the edge of my bed staring at my shoes, convincing myself to put them on and run for 30 minutes before I actually get up and do something. So for me, I was like hearing that David Goggins has those same internal battles that we have. The difference is he just does it. That gives me grace. So on those mornings where I don't just like pop up out of bed like the Undertaker ready to go, those mornings where it takes me a little bit longer to get going and to convince myself like, no, you're going to the gym. Like you're going to do this today. It's part of our plan. It's the steps that we need to take to reach our end goal. Like it just gives you more grace in those mornings, not be so hard on yourself and get down on yourself so much, realizing that even some of the top athletes and the most successful people on the planet have that same internal dialogue that they're battling throughout their day and getting started with their day. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope you have some takeaways that you're able to grab and just apply in your own life. Let me know, drop some things in the comments that you got from this, some new actions that you're going to take as a result. And as always, if you have any questions about how you can apply any of this to your own life, let us know in the comments. Reach out to me. We're happy to help. See you in the next episode.
We're unstoppable. To the top, we about to go. That CEO, I need to know the impact we about to grow. Competition comical. Straight A1, we on the road. Money focus for the goal. Tell them what they need to know. We unstoppable.